Hello and welcome dear students. How are you all? Centers, please report your attendance. I hope your camera is working. I'll be able to see you in some time. So dear students, centers, please report your attendance. Itanagar, Shillong. So please report your attendance and we'll begin shortly. Okay. Hello Shillong students, how are you all? Hello Tamenglong and Itanagar. Okay. So I hope you have revised your notes. Okay. I was preparing your PowerPoint presentation. You'll have it today because there are some things that still need to be done. So I'll do it today. Okay. So first of all, let's do a quick revision of what we did in the last class. I focused on inflorescence, and the inflorescence is something that we see on the plants this is the flowering season of quite a few plants I told you about. So there were a lot of plants that we discussed yesterday, and I focused on the specific inflorescence types. Look students, there are a lot of questions asked from this, so please do not ignore this. Inflorescence types is an important topic. You will definitely get one question from this topic, okay, in NEET examination. So very important one. So please note, you will get one question either from racemose or cymose inflorescence, examples or particular question related to the description of the inflorescence can be asked. So you can see the previous year question papers and you will see that the question that has been asked is based on the description or on the example, okay. So first of all, I told you about racemose inflorescence. Racemose inflorescence is a type of inflorescence which is having an indefinite growth axis, and then there is the simple raceme inflorescence, which is quite common. We see it in mustard. Whenever we go to a florist, okay, suppose you are buying flowers for your family or for someone you care about, okay. So there are a lot of people that might be smiling, okay. So suppose you are gifting some flowers to anyone. The most common flower that you see, okay, the most common flower, that is a gladiolus flower, okay, gladiolus bouquet that you gift to someone. Gladiolus is comes in sticks, okay. This is a long stick, and there are specific. The flower is sticking to the stem like that. So it has a very short pedicel. You can even say it is sessile. But normally it has a short stem, so we call it simple raceme inflorescence. It is also quite common in the case of some other flowers also besides gladiolus. If you are keeping some scented flowers for your home, then you might go for Rajnigandha. Okay, it's a white colored flower, sweet smelling flower. Whenever it's the evening time, the flower suddenly starts giving its natural scent. In the daytime, the scent is normally absent or it is very minimum, but in the night time, it suddenly shoots up. So it flowers for about a week. You keep it in a glass bottle or something, and that's how it works. So there are a lot of flowers that we see ourselves, and that are the typical examples of simple raceme inflorescence. Then we have simple raceme undergoes branching. Then this branches, each branch is an example of simple raceme. So I told you that it is called compound raceme or panicle. It is found in mango. So mangoes are born in compound raceme pattern. Okay, lots of mangoes they hang down from the tree. If you carefully observe them, then they are example of compound raceme. Even some quite other few fruit trees also are example of compound raceme or panicle. Panicle is important. It has been asked that mango inflorescence is a type of which type does this inflorescence belong to? It is spadix, is it panicle, or is it something else? So panicle is compound raceme. Then there is spike inflorescence. Spike is also important. We see it in Achiranthus or Letgera, and Achiranthus represents spike inflorescence, long inflorescence axis, indefinite growth, but the seeds are the flowers are sessile. So that is compound simple spike. Then there is compound spike or spike of spikelet. Just like we had compound raceme, we have spike of spikelet, in which lots of spikes are coming out from a central axis or rachis as we call it. Okay, so I gave you some homework. Do you remember? I asked you to write about gloom, pallia, lemma. Anybody has done it? I asked you to do a short exercise, gloom, lodicule, pallia. Have you done it? Raise your hands. You have done it or not? Raise your hands if you have completed it. Okay, only one or two. Okay, maybe they have not also completed. Okay, gloom is a bract. Now I'll explain to you. Look, whenever there is a flower, okay, flower is protected from its surroundings by calyx. Okay, calyx is a protective structure. It's a part of flower. Normally calyx is green in color, but there can be additional protective structure called bract. Okay, bract is an additional protective leaf-like structure. These bracts are modified, or they are called by a different name in case of spike or spikelet, and it is called gloom. Okay, gloom is a modified bract. Gloom is a modified bract. So suppose this is a spike of spikelet, and this is a spikelet, spike of spikelet, sessile flowers born on this. So at this point here, and here, glooms are present. These are glooms. So you don't need to draw it right now. I'm giving you these notes. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm giving you these notes in the figure that I will be giving you in the PowerPoint presentation. So I have added all these things, so you can write from there. So gloom, pallia, lemma, these are just protective structures. Lemma, pallia. Then there is one more thing called on. All these terms I have put in my PowerPoint presentation, so you can take a look at the diagram. I'm telling you this is important because it has been asked, the question that has been asked, gloom is a modified bract, modified leaf, modified flower, something like that. Okay, so the answer is modified bract. So this is important, please just remember it. It has been asked. Look, why it asks you to remember these questions which has been asked in previous exams, because CBSE has a habit of repeating the questions which has been asked in previous years. I hope you know this. Okay, so there are quite a lot of things that are important which have been repetitively asked for some reason. So we need to focus on these things. Okay, so please don't forget such things which have been already asked. So it's a simple thing. Hardly takes 5 seconds to answer. It will take us it will save a lot of time for answering the other questions. Okay. So gloom, lemma, pallia, I have included all these things, but especially gloom, please remember it. It's very important. Alright, moving on. So spike of spikelet is found in wheat, rice, okay, a lot of plants. Then there we have corymb. Corymb is a type of inflorescence in which all the flowers are appearing on the same level. If you look from the top, all the flowers have appeared on the same level, even though they are having racemose type inflorescence. But what is the difference? Here the lower flowers have longer pedicels and the upper flowers have shorter pedicels. So they appear to be on the same level because of difference in the length of pedicel. So this is corymb inflorescence. I told you Iberis amara or candy tuft is an example of corymb inflorescence. Okay. Moving on, then I told you about the story about the Samsung. Yeah. Okay. Pallia is very good, Shillong. Whoever has answered it, exactly, very good. Pallia is a floret that consists of an internal bract. So it's a bract and bracteole modification. It's called a bracteole. I've included this, don't worry. Yeah, very good. You have done your homework. Very good, Shillong students. Who has answered this, please write your name. I'll remember this. It's good that you have done this. Pallia and lemma. Actually, it's after bract comes bracteole, another thing. So I have included this. Don't worry. It will actually take a little bit of time to explain. So I'll do that later. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Ernie. Very good. Okay, Ernie Lingdo. Yeah, I remember your name. You answer quite a lot of questions. Very good, Ernie. Keep it up. I'm very happy that you are working so hard. Very good. Okay. Ernie Lingdo, I remember your name. I remember. You answer quite a lot and ask quite a lot of questions also. Very good. Okay. So, after a spike of spikelet, we have corym, and corym consists of flowers on the same level. Then there is the umbel inflorescence, and umbel is also having a branched inflorescence called compound umbel. Umbel is seen in plants like Bacopa moneri or Centinella asiatica. What is umbel inflorescence? In umbel inflorescence, from a single point, all flowers will arise and they have the same equal length of pedicel. So they look like they are forming an umbrella shaped structure. So this is umbel inflorescence. Compound umbel or umbel inflorescence is a characteristic feature of which family? Umbelliferae. So please remember this. This is very important. Compound umbel or umbel inflorescence is characteristic feature of which family? Umbelliferae. This is dhania family or coriander family. Coriandrum sativum. Fennel also saunf. Funiculum vulgare is also belonging to this same family. Alright. So corym inflorescence done, compound corym done. Then we move on to some other types of inflorescence of cymose type. So cymose inflorescence has limited growth axis. On the top there is a mature flower, the oldest flower. Then there is uniparous cyme, simple cyme, consists of two types of growth patterns. One is helicoid, one is scorpioid. I already told you about it. Helicoid, one flower, second flower, third flower, fourth flower. So it forms a spiral or helical form of pattern. Single helix, not double helix like DNA. Okay, single helical type of pattern. So this is simple helicoid inflorescence. Then there is scorpioid, first flower, second flower, then third flower, fourth flower. So it's like a scorpion walking on the sand. So scorpioid inflorescence, example is heliotropium. Then I told you about biparous or bichasial cyme or cymose inflorescence. I couldn't get the flowers. Actually the flowers have fallen off, and maybe in the next class I might be able to get them. So because it was an early class, I had to do a lot of searching, so I could not find them, but I'll do that again. Okay, I'll find them somehow. I'll find them. Okay. So then we move on to biparous or bichasial cyme. So it's a type of branched cymose inflorescence. Then there is multiparous cymose or multichasial cymose inflorescence. It is seen in Calotropis. Okay. So students, this is all about inflorescence that we have done today in the last class. Sorry. So inflorescence is done. Now we need to move on to flower. Okay. So now we have to complete flower and flower conditions. A lot of things have to be done in this. Okay. So estivation, I believe, has not been done up till now. Okay. So please put the heading flower. Put the heading flower. Okay. So when we talk about the flower, so now we refer to a reproductive organ. What is the main function of the flower? It is to help in reproduction. Flower is a modification of or arrangement of different leaves which have formed a colored or non-colored pattern, and they are basically the floral parts are basically modified leaves. Okay. Do you agree with the statement floral parts are modified leaves? Yes or no? Do you agree with the statement? Yes or no? Floral parts are modified leaves. Yes or no? Nobody? Okay. Alright, no problem. I'll show you. I'll explain to you. Look, Everybody has seen a large 100 petal rose or a 1000 petal rose, or a 100 petal marigold or 1000 petal marigold. These are large flowers. Actually, it is not a 1000 petal, but the marketing people, the florists advertise it as a 100 petal rose or a 1000 petal rose. So it's just a marketing strategy to help people understand that something is bigger. Okay. So everybody has seen large roses and large marigolds. Just raise your hands. Large ones, small ones we see every day. Okay, large roses, large size roses and large size marigolds. Nobody? Okay, no problem. Actually, I'm in Delhi, so there is a flower exhibition here that is run in the months of winter. Okay, like the early months of winter, maybe in November or December. There is a time announced that this time the flower exhibition is going to be on this day. So like very good florists from all over the country and farmers, they come, and enthusiasts like me also. Okay, so a lot of people visit, and there we get to see a lot of flowers, really good varieties of flowers. And that's an excellent choice for the people also, because who are growing these flowers, because they get to showcase these flowers to other people. So I have seen these flowers, and one rose that I have seen that it's really like a small basket. Okay, and marigolds can be very fascinating also. I have seen marigolds also of the size of small baskets. My particular choice is just not rose. I have a choice for different flower. It's called carnation. So carnation, roses, marigolds, they are like, I should say like this, almost this much size. All of this, almost this size. Okay, so it's a large size. So I asked somebody, how do they perform these modifications? Like how do they increase the number of petals and the size of the petals? So size of the petals will be a bit difficult for you to understand, but I can understand that you can agree with me on some points. Anyway, so every flower, rose flower, the small one that we see in our homes every day, it has a large number of stamens. Everybody agrees on this? It has a large number of stamens. So the basic principle between a small flower and a large flower, what I noticed, that the large flower has very less stamens, very less anthers. It has anthers, but their number is quite less. They are large in number, large in size, but they are less in number. On the other hand, the small, the local rose that we see in our homes every day, it has large number of stamens, but smaller petals and less number of petals. So a scientist explained to me that what the basic principle is, that we try to convert the extra stamens into petals. That is the basis of hybridization. Like he says that almost all the floral parts are fixed. We cannot increase them, but we can interchange them. There are some techniques for that. You do not need to know how that is happening. That extra androecium are converted into petals. That is why the flower is so much large in shape. So that was what I found fascinating. Anyway, so that brings us to the main point. What is a flower? Flower is a reproductive organ consisting of highly condensed internodes and nodes. Okay, flower is a part, is an organ which is consisting of highly condensed nodes and internodes. So if you want to see these internodes, you will have to cut a longitudinal section of the flower. Okay, longitudinal section of the flower, and then under the low power microscope. And there is also an evidence that the flower is a highly condensed internode and node pattern, because in some plants like roses, there is a phenomenon called monstrous development, in which what happens, sometimes by mistake some internode gets elongated in the middle of the flower. So some petals are kept downwards and some petals are here, and there is a huge gap and there is a stem in between. So I have seen this personally in case of some flowers, so I can assure you that it's quite real. So this confirms biologically that flower is a highly condensed system or organ of nodes and internodes. So please continue with the definition of the flower. Flower is a reproductive unit consisting of highly condensed nodes and internodes. Okay. Then you can write in the brackets sometimes the internodes in the flower get elongated. Example, monstrous development in rose. Monstrous development in rose. Rose or Rosa indica. Rosa. Rose. Okay. So this is about the flower. Also, flower is born on a flower. Look, everybody remembers that some flowers can be quite heavy. Can you give me the name of any heavy flower? A flower which has quite a lot of weight. It will be interesting to see how many people can quote me some flowers which are quite heavy. Anybody? Give me the names of flowers which are quite large, which you have seen by your side in your room, in your nearby area. Can you name any such flowers to me which are quite heavy? I can give you one example. One is the red colored flower. It's quite heavy. It comes from Bombax ceiba. It flowers in the month of February to March. Red colored flowers, and they are quite heavy. If they fall on your head, you will not get hurt, but it's quite heavy. Anybody else? Okay. Banana flowers. Banana flowers are quite heavy. There are a lot of flowers which are quite heavy, but what I wanted to show you, look, when you look at the flower, what is the structure that supports the flower? I wanted you to think about this. Actually, large flowers have some things which are quite easily visible. Every flower has a base. This base is called the thalamus. What is it called? It's called the thalamus. If you had, yeah, very good, lotus. Now, if you have seen a lotus flower, if you can see at the base, like spread out the petals. I really love the lotus flower. It's one of the most interesting things these days. Yeah, very good, Itanagar. Lotus flower is quite a heavy flower, and when you see at the base of the flower, it's actually a little bit green or white structure. It is called the thalamus. Okay, it's called the thalamus. Have you also seen lotus seeds? Lotus seeds. Do you eat lotus seeds? Yes or no? Everybody eats lotus seeds. You just do not remember the name. lotus seeds are actually baked in the fire, and then they are what happens is they are baked in the fire, and that's called makhana. Okay, actually that is white lotus seed. Foxnuts, and you might remember it. It's called foxnut. Okay, so lotus seeds are born on a green structure. It's a spongy structure. It's quite fun to press it. It quite a spongy structure, and I like pressing it. Okay, so what that represents is the thalamus. Thalamus is the structure which supports the flower. Okay, please write it. Flower consists of floral parts called floral whorls, arranged successively on swollen end of stalk or pedicel called thalamus. Now thalamus is a very important structure that I need to discuss with you. That is why I am stressing on thalamus so much. Otherwise I would not waste so much time on explaining thalamus. Thalamus is a very important structure. To understand whether a flower is superior, inferior, or half inferior, half superior, we need to understand first the concept about thalamus. What is the thalamus? Thalamus is the last part or swollen end of the pedicel. Flower is attached by pedicel to the main stem or mother axis, and then there is a swollen end. Okay, it undergoes a lot of swelling, or it undergoes a lot of cell division. It forms a large structure that is called the thalamus. One example, very good example of edible thalamus is in the case of apple. Apples everybody knows, okay? In apple, what we eat is the thalamus, and we do not eat the fruit. That's a bit surprising biologically, because we suppose that we eat, when we call the apple fruit, actually biologically the apple fruit is in the center. The seeds are covered by a papery covering that we spit out. We do not eat that, okay? Okay, please do not eat the central part in the case of apple. There is one more reason. Apple seeds contain cyanide. Cyanide poison, everybody knows, right? Apple seeds contain cyanide. There was a person, I will quote a scientific research paper. Kingston is a scientist. In 1965, he quoted that a person who was fond of eating apple seeds managed to save about half a cup of apple seeds, and he ate them all in one go, and he immediately died on the spot because of cyanide poisoning. Apple seeds contain cyanide. Please do not eat them anyway. Okay, so actual fruit is the papery covering in the center, and what we eat is the thalamus, edible thalamus. This is also a very important question in NEET exams. A lot of fruits are being asked. I'll discuss this with you. I'll give you a lot of examples also. Edible fruits and their edible parts. It is a very important question. You will definitely get 1 or 2 questions in the exam based on edible parts of fruit. Lychee, aril, apple, thalamus, pear, orange, all these things. Juicy placental here, juicy testa in case of pomegranate. A lot of questions being asked. So thalamus represents the last part of pedicel which is swollen, and it supports the flower. Okay, so this is supporting the whole weight of the flower, and all the floral parts are inserted on this thalamus. Okay, edible thalamus is seen in case of apple. Okay, so this is the story about thalamus. Now let's talk about the floral whorls and then we will discuss what superior ovary means, what inferior ovary means, and what half inferior or half superior ovary means. It's also a very important question in CBSE NEET examination during I think it was 2012 or 2013. A question came in, look, diagram based questions are not very common. Very few diagram based questions are asked in the NEET exam. But one question came, and that was from this superior ovary condition. So I'll draw the diagram also shortly after I finish this in 5-10 minutes. And that was an important question. Okay. So first we talked about thalamus. Now we must talk about the floral parts that we are talking about. So floral parts of a flower, of a complete flower, are: number 1, calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. So these are the floral parts. Okay. So what happens is, normally a complete flower consists of all these 4 parts. But if one or the other part is missing, it is called an incomplete flower. So please write it. If any one of the above parts is missing, it is called an incomplete flower. Incomplete flower. It is called an incomplete flower. Okay. So this is about incomplete flower. Now, out of these, calyx and corolla, they are called non-essential whorls of the flower. Calyx and corolla are the non-essential whorls of the flower. Okay. And androecium and gynoecium, are the essential whorls of the flower. Gynoecium are essential whorls of the flower. So without androecium and gynoecium, flower is not considered to be useful. It's called sterile flower if one of the other parts is missing. And there is unisexual, bisexual flower also. So if suppose one anther is missing, it is called sterile stamen. So sterility can also happen in some flowers. Anyway, now androecium and gynoecium, if both androecium and gynoecium are present, if both androecium and gynoecium are present, androecium and gynoecium are present, then a flower is called bisexual flower. Flower is called bisexual flower. Bisexual flower. This means both sex organs are present. But if one of these parts is missing or only one part is present, it is called unisexual flower. If only androecium or gynoecium is present, then it is called unisexual flower. Unisexual flower. Okay. If only androecium or gynoecium is present, then it is called a unisexual flower. Alright. Okay. So continuing, now we need to discuss a thing about flower symmetry. Flower symmetry. Flower symmetry. So already you know it, I am just repeating it. Flower symmetry. By flower symmetry, what we mean is, we try to observe the flower whether it is symmetrical from one point or one axis only or from multiple axes. Okay. So suppose a flower has multiple, if a flower has multiple axis of symmetry, axis is plural, axis of symmetry, it's called actinomorphic. Actinomorphic. And if it has only a single axis, it is only a flower can be divided into two equal halves by only one part, only one axis. So there is only one way to do it. Then it is called zygomorphic. If a flower has single axis of symmetry, then it is called zygomorphic. Zygomorphic. Okay, it is called zygomorphic. So actinomorphic and zygomorphic are described with respect to a flower. So how many people of you have seen pea flowers? Flowers of pea or any other legume? Maybe you have seen, yeah, very good. Okay. So any pulses or any pea flower, if you see, if you carefully observe and try to open this flower, you can see that there is only a single axis of symmetry. Pea flower has only a single axis of symmetry. It is called actinomorphic flower. Okay. So suppose a flower has, I'll draw mustard flower. Sunflower is not a single flower, sunflower is a group of flowers, so sunflower is usually not drawn. Suppose I draw something like Catharanthus roseus or Sadabahar or simple flower like this. Okay. So it has multiple axes of symmetry. It can be divided from here also, more than one axis of symmetry. This is actinomorphic flower. So my line is slightly to the left, right side, don't mind it, draw completely on your behalf only. But in case of pea flower, what's happening is, pea flower is like this. There is a large petal. I should draw this larger. This is the standard. And then there is like this. Now this flower has only this axis of symmetry, single axis of symmetry. So this is called zygomorphic. Zygomorphic. Okay. All right. So now there is something else we need to do. Everybody has seen a China rose flower. China rose flower everybody has seen. So I want you to go home and take a China rose flower and divide it, take the calyx separately, take the corolla separately. Androecium, I am not sure if you will be able to do it or not, but I'll give you the guide what you have to do. Okay. There is trimerous condition, tetramerous condition, and then there is pentamerous condition. Hibiscus flower is an example of pentamerous condition. The green part that you see, you will see two green structures. Okay, pentamerous flower, hibiscus. Tetramerous flower, mustard flower. Trimerous condition, liliaceae, lily flower. Trimerous, tetramerous, pentamerous. What does it mean? A hibiscus flower has 5 calyx, 5 petals, infinite stamens, and it has 5 carpels. 5 carpels. Such a flower which has floral parts in multiple of 5 or a number is named accordingly. If it has in multiple of 5, you will call it pentamerous. If it has in multiple of 4, you will call it a tetramerous, mustard flower. Trimerous in case of liliaceae. So hibiscus, you can see 5 petals there. 5 petals are very easy to see. Just outside the petals, there are 5 calyx which have almost fused together. But you can make out this one is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third, fourth, fifth. Okay, it will come out in the form of a green colored cup. Okay, it's very easy to do, don't worry about it. It's completely easy to do, you can do it. 5 calyx, 5 petals, androecium. Androecium comes out in the form of a single tube. Okay, open the flower carefully. Now take a knife or a blade or something, or just use a pen, ball pen, and you perform a cut like this. There is a central red colored structure. Try to open it carefully so that you do not destroy it. Actually what happens is, in the red colored flower in the center there is a white colored structure which is the style. So don't damage the style, take it out carefully. You can see, remove the whole stamens in one single piece. Okay, all the stamens will be removed in the form of single tube, red colored tube you have to take out. And then what you will see inside is the gynoecium, the ovary. If you take a blade, you will find this on China rose. You will find this on China rose. Okay, you will find this on China rose. Actually, I have difficulty in plucking flowers in the morning. So I cannot bring it right now because right now I have to take a long commute. I have to take a long distance travel. So during that time, I cannot collect this hibiscus flower. I'm not sure if I will be able to do it in the next class. but I can give it a try, but I cannot be very sure, because if I want to show you these conditions, I have to take a fresh flower which is not undergone wilting or is something else. So I need to give you a fresh flower, so that's a bit difficult, but I'll try to arrange it. Okay, it can be done. So I can send you the pictures if I dissect the flower by myself. Okay, on the Saturday, tomorrow is Saturday. I happen to have a orange colored hibiscus and a pink colored hibiscus. Let me see which one undergoes flowering, and then I'll send you some photos. Okay, on the group maybe. Okay, if you are interested, just drop me a message. I'll send you the photos. Okay, I'll draw. Just message me tomorrow evening, because tomorrow evening it might be possible to take some of these flowers. If they are undergoing flowering tomorrow, they are in bud condition, so I suppose they will probably undergo flowering tomorrow also, or if not tomorrow, then on Sunday. So I will take out the calyx, I will take out the corolla and the androecium and the gynoecium separately, and I'll give you the pics how to do it. Okay, so just drop me a message, I'll do that. Now Liliaceae members have floral parts in multiples of 3. They have 6 petal like structure. It is called tepal, 6. Okay, and they have 6 stamens and they have 3 carpel. So it is in the multiple of 3. So we call this Liliaceae flower as trimerous. Mustard flower is a very small flower, but still you can see 4 calyx, 4 petals, and there are actually 6 stamens. But there is a distinction. There are 4 stamens on one ring, there are 2 stamens on one ring, and ovary is basically bicarpellary, or so we call it tetramerous. Normally calyx, corolla is counted. So trimerous, tetramerous and pentamerous condition. Okay, pentamerous very easy to see in hibiscus. Hibiscus is the best flower to see pentamerous condition. A very good example. I can also ask you to take tomato flower. Tomato flower also undergoes pentamerous condition, but tomato flower is a very small flower, very difficult. Okay, so no use giving you those flowers which are very small. So, and I want to give you those flowers which are common and undergo flowering 12 months every year. So hibiscus can undergo flowering every time. It's a day neutral plant, no long day, short day plants distinction. Anyway, so this is done. Also, now we talk about a structure called bract. So everybody remembers I asked lodicule palea lemma question. Okay, so bract is a protective structure which protects the flower in early stage. The flower bud, in the bud stage, the calyx protects the corolla, but even before that, sometimes in some plants they have extra structure called bract. Okay, it's a green leafy structure, it's a modification of leaf, so it's called a bract. Bract is a reduced modified leaf, reduced and modified leaf found at base of pedicel. So even before that, when the flower is just trying to form itself, even when it's not a bud, before the bud there is a single condition which the pedicel goes longer, so it protects the pedicel, you can say basically. But if bract is present, then this flower is called bracteate. Bracteate means bract is present. If bract is absent in a flower, it is called ebracteate. Ebracteate. Okay. All right. Now this brings us to a very important thing. Position of floral parts on thalamus, that is inferior, superior, half inferior condition. Position of floral parts on thalamus, a very important topic. Because it's quite confusing also. So if you pay attention, you will understand this in one simple, you will understand this in about 5-10 minutes. Okay. Just a single concept is required. If you understand this diagram, how I am drawing it, then you will be able to understand it very quickly. Otherwise, if you do not pay attention, it becomes quite hectic to understand this. All right. So coming back here, okay, this is a bit upwards. This will be fine. This much is fine. Okay. All right. Yeah, so now it's looking fine. Okay. So this is the thalamus. This is the thalamus. Everybody remembers a rose flower. So the rose flower, it has a very good, very well defined thalamus. Okay. So this is the thalamus. Now thalamus can have ovary sitting right on top of it. So I am going to use a different color for the ovary. I am going to use purple. This is the ovary. This is the ovary. Okay. This is the ovary. Now this part is the style. This part is the style. And this part, the knob like part on top, is called the stigma. This is the stigma. Okay. Okay. So this is the stigma. Maybe I can use a different color for this, so you can understand the difference here. This is the stigma. Then there is the style. Then there is the ovary. Now the floral parts that are besides these, please try to note this here. This is the ovary sitting right on top of the thalamus. The other floral parts will be inserted below this. The androecium comes first, it's here. This is the androecium. Please carefully see where the stamen or anther is inserted. It is below the ovary. Now comes the petal. Petal is inserted even below the androecium. This is the petal. Okay, anyway, alright, let me trim this a bit, it's become too thick. Alright, now this will work. Alright. So this is the petal, corolla. Now comes the calyx. Now comes the calyx. Calyx is situated here, in this part. Calyx is at the base. So first comes the ovary, then comes the androecium, then comes after androecium comes the corolla, and then comes the calyx. So what is happening here? What is happening here is that, alright, what is happening here is that all the floral parts are inserted one below the other. This is the case of superior ovary. You call this condition as superior ovary. Superior ovary, okay, or you can also call it hypogynous ovary. Hypogynous ovary. Then there is the contrast this with the other condition, which is called the inferior ovary. In inferior ovary, when we discuss that, all the floral parts will move upwards. The thalamus moves upwards and it will completely surround the ovary, and on the top the calyx, corolla, androecium will come. So that is called inferior ovary. Now this is the first condition. It is called the superior ovary condition. Now if we try to move on forward, there is another type of ovary. I hope you have drawn this. I will move on. Okay. And then there is the second type of ovary, which is called the perigynous condition. In perigynous condition, there is like this. Perigynous condition. In perigynous condition, what is happening? The ovary is now moving downwards with respect to other floral parts. So this is the ovary, stigma style, and the calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Calyx is here. This is the calyx. The corolla is here. Okay, and the androecium is here. Okay, so this is called the perigynous condition, or half inferior, half superior. So it's called by multiple names. There is one more diagram I need to draw about this. Okay. What has happening is, they can be also a bit spread out. Thalamus can be a bit spread out also, like this. Then let me draw the ovary. This is the style. Now over the calyx, corolla, androecium. Calyx is here. This is the calyx. Corolla is, let me draw pink corolla now. This is the corolla here. And then the androecium. Androecium is here. So this, both these examples that I am drawing here, this is superior or half inferior, half superior ovary. Okay. Just raise your hands if everybody has drawn it. I'll move on. Okay, you're still drawing, I can see. Okay, a few people have finished. Alright. Should I move on? Alright. Now you can see here in this condition, keep on writing, keep on drawing. The thalamus has started to move upwards. The thalamus has started to move upwards. The thalamus has started to move upwards. Here, thalamus is starting to move upwards. Okay, thalamus is moving upwards slowly. Okay, thalamus is moving upwards slowly, and in the third condition, the inferior ovary condition, thalamus will completely cover it. Can you give me some examples of fruits that you see in this kind of example? Everybody likes guavas, I suppose. Guavas. How many people have not eaten a guava? Just raise your hands. Or do not like guavas at all? How many people do not like guavas or do not eat guavas at all? Okay, a few people. Alright. So, even if you do not like a guava, you will still be eating the jam made from guava. If you are eating the mixed fruit jam, okay, so you are probably eating the pectin, calcium or magnesium pectin that is obtained from guava, overripe guavas only. Anyway, what I am trying to tell you is, in guava, the inferior ovary condition is seen. What happens is, the thalamus completely covers the ovary and calyx is on the top of it, and below that is the, after that is the androecium, and gynoecium is completely covered. So, if you remember eating the guava, you have seen that on the other end, everybody has drawn? Okay, I'll move on then. In guava, let me draw a guava just a second. I just want to explain something to you. In the guava, you see these kind of things like this, brown colored or some things like this. Okay, and you remove this part. This is the stem. Okay, and on the other end, there is something like this. It's actually brown colored. There is no brown color here. Okay, so here you see something like this. Everybody remembers this? These are 5 in number. That is actually green colored on the outside. It is actually green colored on the outside here. In green guava, these will be green colored. That is the calyx. That is the calyx. This part that you do not eat and remove it, it's actually the calyx. In a yellow colored guava, it will be yellow colored. So that is actually the calyx. Okay, on the other end, if the guava is fresh, you can see, you can break it also. If you break it and it's a young guava, a freshly picked guava, on the inside of the calyx, if you remove it carefully, you will see dried multiple stamens. You will see dry androecium. A very good example of seeing this. Guava is just beginning to flower now, and guava's fruits will be shortly available to everybody. So when you eat it again, try to look at the calyx and the androecium. Okay, so you will find the androecium. The androecium is still there. It's dried, and I have seen it. Okay, so you can do this in that condition. Okay, so guava is a inferior ovary condition. Okay, coming back now. Okay. Guava, inferior ovary. Now let me draw the inferior ovary for you. Okay. So when you eat this, if guava is available near you, try to observe the calyx and androecium. Okay. Now talking about the guava's condition, what happens is, okay, the thalamus grows upwards. The thalamus grows upwards and the gynoecium is surrounded everywhere from it. Okay, so this is the gynoecium. And the gynoecium is here. I'm just shading it randomly. Okay. And the calyx will be born at this place. Calyx will be here. I'm not drawing green calyx right now. Okay, calyx is here. Androecium, the petals are here. These are the petals. The petals are white colored in guava. If you've seen a guava flower, the petals are white colored. I'm drawing them yellow or blue or red, but if you've seen a guava flower, it's white colored. And the androecium will be here. Androecium will be here. You can see the ovary is completely covered by the thalamus. This is the thalamus. And it has completely enveloped the ovary. The ovules of the ovary, which will later develop into seeds, are completely covered by the thalamus. Okay. So this is an example of inferior ovary condition. This is the inferior ovary. It is also called epigynous. Epigynous means above ovary. Epigynous ovary or epigynous ovary condition. Alright. So inferior is seen in case of inferior ovary, example guava and cucumber. As mentioned in your NCERT, cucumber. The botanical name of guava is Cydium guajava. Cucumber is Cucumis sativus. Right? Drawn everybody. In case of perigynous half inferior ovary condition, its very good example is perigynous ovary condition. Example, rose. Rose, the petals form a cup-like condition. They form a cup-like condition. In perigynous, a cup-like structure is being formed. Okay. Rose, plum, peach. These are examples of perigynous or half inferior, half ovary condition. Okay. And in the case of epigynous ovary, hypogynous ovary, hypogynous, look, it's a characteristic family of Solanaceae family, but we will write three examples: mustard, Brinjal is example of Solanaceae family. Okay, and you can also write China rose. China rose is also superior ovary condition. Most members of Solanaceae show superior ovary condition. Okay, so this is about inferior superior ovary. So it's an important part. I have stressed enough on this, that how important it is. Remember this. You can be easily confused by if you compare the length of ovary, length of stamen, that stamen is present above the ovary, you will get confused. Please do not look at the topmost point. Please look at the bottommost point to identify which ovary condition is there. Okay, you might be given an unknown diagram in which all the thalamus parts are inserted somewhere, and you will have to take a look at it and decide whether it is half inferior, half superior, or it is superior or it is inferior. Okay, so now you are able to do it. I am sure you will be able to do it. There should be no confusion now. Parts of a flower. Now let me come to parts of a flower. Okay, the most common flower part that we are concerned with is either the ripened ovary, or in the case of flower, if we talk about just the flower, the most common thing we are concerned with is the corolla. Okay, when we talk about flower, normally people think of the corolla only, but actually there are four parts. As I already said, there are four parts: calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. So let's talk about, first of all, calyx. And what do you think about it? Calyx. Okay, so calyx, you can say it is the outermost whorl of a flower. It is the outermost whorl of a flower. Okay, the unit of calyx is called sepal. The unit of calyx, that means calyx is formed by sepals. Sepal, just like corolla unit is petal, unit of calyx is sepal. Okay, now there are a few things that you need to learn. Calyx is attached to the flower in a bud condition because it wants to protect the flower. After pollination and after fertilization, calyx normally separates from the flower, but in some cases it still remains attached. If calyx falls down, it is called deciduous or caducous. But if it remains attached to the plant even after pollination and even after fertilization and fruit formation, it is called persistent. Calyx is normally green in color. Calyx is normally green in color. And protects the flower in bud stage. In bud stage, it protects the flower. Okay. Calyx normally separates or falls off. Calyx normally falls off from the flower okay, it normally falls off after pollination and fertilization. Pollination and fertilization. So it's deciduous. Deciduous calyx. But if it remains attached to the plant or to the flower, even after pollination and fertilization, even if it remains attached, it is called persistent calyx. Persistent calyx. Can you give me some examples of persistent calyx? Anybody? Can you give me some examples of persistent calyx? If I am asking you, then it must be quite common. If it was not, I am telling you that it's present in your kitchen at the moment, or wherever you keep your vegetables in the fridge or something. You will definitely find persistent calyx in your home. Where is it? Can you give it a thought? Give it a guess. Persistent calyx is present in everybody's home. There is no exception. Okay, anybody? No guesses. Tomatoes. Tomatoes, the green part attached to the tomato. If you are not fond of tomatoes, brinjal. Okay. Chilies. Chili is also example of family Solanaceae, or capsicum. These all have persistent calyx which remains attached to the fruit. What you see is the fruit. Actually call it a vegetable, but it's actually a fruit, botanically speaking or biologically speaking, it's a fruit. So if it remains attached, it is called persistent calyx. It is a characteristic feature of family Solanaceae, members of family Solanaceae. Solanaceae. Tomato, brinjal, capsicum, chilies, etc. Tomato, brinjal, etc. That is why I told you that it's present in your homes. Okay. Parts of a flower calyx is done. Alright. Okay. Now let's complete corolla. Now what is a corolla? Corolla is a, let's say it's a decorative example. It's a part of the flower and its function is not protection but attracting the pollinators, insect pollinator. Like honeybees, there are a lot of insects, and then there can be mammalian pollinator like bats, then there can be bird pollinator, ornithophily, chiropterophily, there can be snails also perform the pollination and fertilization. although it might take years for a snail to go from one plant to the other plant, but snails also perform pollination and fertilization. So what is the basis of this activity? The basis of this activity is whenever there is a wedding, okay, whenever there is a wedding somewhere, there is a huge area, okay, there is a huge area and there is a banquet. So whenever you see a banquet, what do you see? If the banquet is there, how do you identify it? A huge part of things will be spent on the decorations. So corolla is the decorative part of the flower, okay, and what's purpose does it serve? It serves to attract the people who perform the marriage between two flowers. The marriage between two flowers is performed by which thing? Normally the insects. The honeybee is the bishop, or the honeybee is the pandit, which performs this marriage, and to help the bishop and to, let's say, the bishop will not come for free and the pandit will not come for free. They always need something that why are you calling us? Okay, so there are some sweets for this person who is performing the marriage, and everybody else, the wedding guests are just watching. We are the wedding guests. We are watching the pollination, and the thing is, the nectar will be produced by the plant. It serves as the food. So the pandit will come for performing the marriage, and the thing is, the bishop will come for the food. Okay, so here the insects, the priest, the bishop, archbishop will not come. I understand how important the archbishop is. Okay, so these people will come for the food. The food is performed by produced by the nectaries, which produce nectar. Nectar is a sucrose sweet solution. Okay, so let's complete it. It's a decorative part, you can say. It is composed of petals. Corolla is the brightly colored part. Brightly colored part which serves to attract the pollinators, okay, the people who perform this marriage, okay, and pollinators can be of many different species. Pollinators, the unit of corolla is called petal. The unit of corolla is the petal. Okay, the unit of corolla is the petal. Now we need to discuss a few things here. There are two things that are written in the floral diagram or the flower description, and that is the gamosepalous habit or gamopetalous habit, polypetalous habit or polysepalous habit. Then there is the estivation. We have described calyx and corolla, and now we need to describe a few terms related to both calyx and corolla. Okay, so what are the things which are being asked in the examinations? These things are fusion of calyx or corolla, gamosepalous condition, when sepals, all the sepals are fused together. All these sepals are fused together. This is finished. Corolla is finished. When all the sepals are fused together. Similarly, there is a term called gamopetalous. Gamopetalous. When the petals are fused together. Petals are fused together. Okay. Then there is a term called polysepalous. Polysepalous. When all these sepals are free, sepals are free, not united, not fused. Polypetalous. Polypetalous. Polypetalous means all the petals are free. When the petals are free, not fused. So now I am giving you some examples. Try to identify. Hibiscus flower. Is it polypetalous or is it gamopetalous? Hibiscus flower. Is it polypetalous or it is gamopetalous? I'm just asking you just to answer it. After you have written, of course. Some people are giving me a stare as if they will say that, sir, are you asking us or you want us to write first? I can see some people staring at me. Okay, I understand. Please write it first, then answer my question. Anyway, whenever you are ready. So hibiscus flower, is it polypetalous or it is gamopetalous? Itanagar or Tamenglong? Yeah, polypetalous. Rose flower, polypetalous, gamopetalous? Rose, polypetalous or gamopetalous? Nobody? Polypetalous or gamopetalous? Polypetalous, yeah, good. Okay. And have you seen a datura flower? Datura. Or you have seen tomato flower? Or you have seen teak flowers? Teak is in the flowering stage now. Teak, I am asking you datura. Then let's take another example. Let's take brinjal flowers. Anybody? Are all these flowers that I have just described to you, are they polypetalous or are they gamopetalous? Have you seen a datura flower? It's a huge flower, like the size of the flower is this much. The size of the datura flower is this much. Nobody? It's a gamopetalous. It's a gamopetalous. Teak, tomato, datura, okay, all these are gamopetalous flowers. All the petals are fused together to form a corolla tube. Okay, all right. Now there is another flower that I'll give you. Lily. Lilies you have seen, everybody. Is lily gamopetalous or polypetalous? Lily flowers. Everybody has seen lily flowers. What is the condition in lily flower? Anybody? Lily. Come on, please answer it quickly and then I'll move on. Please answer quickly and then we'll move on. Nobody? Lily has a different condition that I must describe here. There is one more condition that I haven't described you, and there is a unique condition. Okay. One more thing here. Okay. There is a unique condition in some flower which is called a tepal. Tepal. Lily does not have a petal. Lily does not have any kind of petals. Lily does not have petal and sepal separately. It has sepal and petal fused together. This is called a tepal. Petal and sepal fused together. Sepals fused together form a tepal. Sepal and petal fused together form a tepal. So, if I am saying gamotepalous, this means all the tepals are fused together. If I am saying polytepalous, okay, then that means it is a gamotepalous condition or gamophilous condition. Lily flowers do not have gamosepalous or gamopetalous. All the petals are fused together. There are 6 petals and they are fused together. I have seen a flower which is in the flowering stage, and it's from the Liliaceae family. White colored flowers, it's from the Liliaceae family. It's a type of lily. Maybe in the next class I can show you, or I can show you the picture. I'll have to climb a fence and take out some flowers from a garden if I don't get caught. Okay, not so serious. I'll manage. Okay, lily has tepals fused together. Lily flower has tepals fused together. Fused together. This condition called gamotepalous or gamophilous. Okay, yeah, lily flowers, normal lily flowers, these are the lily flowers, actually lilium, the botanical name is the lilium, but normally there is a lot of lilies, but normally what we talk about is the garden lily. Okay, so garden lily, it has the simple white colored flowers or yellow colored flowers, and yeah, okay. So that represents the gamotepalous or gamophilous condition. Okay, all right. So let's move on. This is done. Now I have to complete a condition called estivation. 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 Okay. Estivation is the arrangement of the sepal or petal with respect to each other. Sepals arranged with respect to each other. There are multiple conditions here. If petals are present, they might be fused at the bottom but free at the top. Okay, they might be fused at the bottom or free at the top. And if they are arranged in such a way that they are not touching each other, or if they are touching, they are not overlapping with each other. They are present like this, and all the sepals or petals are not overlapping with each other. This condition is called valvate estivation. If one petal is like this, its one margin is below and one margin is above the next petal. Okay, so this condition is called the twisted estivation. Twisted estivation is the most common estivation. If you take a hibiscus flower, you can see easily that the petals are arranged in such a way that one is having each petal has two margins, one margin is above, one margin is below the side by side petals. So this condition is called the twisted aestivation. So normally the question is asked with respect to twisted or imbricate aestivation, or example is asked. So first of all, let's complete twisted aestivation. Twisted aestivation, it's of following types. It is of following types. Twisted aestivation. Twisted aestivation is like this. Just a second. Twisted aestivation is like this. Twisted aestivation is like this. Just a second. This is the twisted aestivation. All the margins are non-overlapping. Non-overlapping. Now, aestivation is described with respect to both for corolla and calyx. Corolla and calyx. Corolla and calyx. Okay. Aestivation is described with respect to calyx and corolla. This is the sorry, just a second. This is the this is the valvate aestivation. Just a second. This is the valvate aestivation. Sorry. This is the valvate aestivation. By mistake, I wrote twisted. Twisted is the next type in which one margin is above, one margin is below. This is the valvate aestivation. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is the valve estivation. Then is the next is estivation is the twisted estivation. Twisted estivation. Okay, in the twisted estivation, what happens is twisted estivation. One margin is above, the other margin is below. Okay, just a second. It's a bit wrong this way. First petal, second petal, third, and then there is the fourth. Fourth one is a bit misplaced. Twisted estivation is this. You can say one margin of sepal or petal, one margin of sepal or petal is below the next, and the other margin is above the next. Okay. So this is in the case of twisted estivation. Valvate estivation is seen in the case of calotropis. Calotropis shows valvate estivation. Okay, and twisted estivation, a very good example is hibiscus. 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 Okay, hibiscus is an example of valvate twisted estivation. Then there is other example is the imbricate estivation. Imbricate estivation. Imbricate estivation. In imbricate estivation, what happens is, this is a bit complex. One petal is having two margins which are actually totally inside. This petal which I am drawing here, it has both margins. This one, the first one that I draw, this is the first one that I have drawn here. This one has both margins which are going to be below the other adjacent petals. Okay, so this is like this. Okay, and one petal is going to have both margins which are above. Both margins which are above. Okay, this is the imbricate estivation. Imbricate estivation. So you can say that margins overlap each other, but not in a particular direction. The overlapping is not in a particular direction. Not in a particular direction. So one goes clockwise, one goes anti-clockwise. This is the net result. Particular direction. Example, cashier. Other example is Gulmohar. Gulmohar name is Delonix regia, botanical name. Last, we come on to the most important estivation which has been asked multiple times in the examination. It is called the vexillary estivation. It's a characteristic feature of family Fabaceae. Fabaceae or pea family is the characteristic feature of that corolla, not carex. Corolla, the characteristic feature is vexillary estivation. And why, I will tell you in this later. It has a large petal called standard or vexillum. By the name of vexillum petal, the name has been developed called vexillary estivation. So I hope you have written it. Let's move on this further, and after that I will wrap up this class. Vexillary estivation. Vexillary estivation. It's also called papilionaceous estivation, or another name is papilionaceous corolla. Papilionaceous estivation. It's seen in case of corolla only. It has not been seen in the case of calyx. It's only in the case of corolla. So here one petal is quite large. This one is quite large. One petal is quite large. We draw it like this. One petal is quite large. It's like this. Okay, and this is these are the 5 petals actually. Now this petal is called the standard or vexillum. Standard or vexillum. This one is called wings or alae. This one actually, it's the fusion is the result of fusion of 2 petals. So it appears like one, but like it's actually a fusion of 2 petals. So this is called the keel. Keel. 5 petals. It is called 2. It's represented like this: 2 plus 2 plus 1. 4 petals in appearance, but 2 petals are fused. So bracket represents fusion, and this represents keel petal. This represents wings, and this represents standard petal. Standard petal. So floral formula, when we write, we write C plus 2, C 2 plus 2 plus 1, or 1 plus 2 plus 2. So this is for this is for keel, this is for wings, and this is for standard. Okay, so maxillary estivation or papillonaceous corolla is very, very important. It's the most common question in the examination regarding corolla. So I cannot stress on this enough. Very important. So you can say in this estivation, in this type, the largest petal called standard or vexillum overlaps the two lateral wings, the two lateral wing petals. Okay, and position of standard is on posterior side. Position of, this is an important point. You have been asked, look, whenever a question becomes quite common and important, the attention of the examiner focuses on the small points, minor points. For example, this is a minor point that I am saying here. Position of standard petal has been asked with respect to the mother axis or the mother plant, the main axis. So it is present at posterior, on the back side. So, okay, position of standard petal is posterior and keel position is anterior. The wings overlap with the smallest anterior petals called keel. Anterior petals called keel. It's also called carina, another name. So this is enough for today. Next class we meet, we will consider androecium, cohesion, polyadelphous, monodelphous conditions, and gynoecium, placentation and ovary. So in the next class when we meet, we will finish this chapter, and then we will start with the anatomy part. Okay. So thank you, dear students. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and we'll meet in the next class. Okay. Thank you.